Wonderful thing has happened in Virginia starting in 2021, and that is that Virginia never used to have an opportunity to expunge your records. And I want to talk a little bit about expungement and sealing of records. Hardly an expert, but uh, the Justice Forward people have come up with some really terrific um, cheat sheets. But there's a couple little things missing that I'd like to talk about. One is to discuss the differences. So let's look at the differences right now between the two: criminal record expungement and record sealing from Justice Forward Virginia Foundation. Without going into all this, I think everybody knows what a criminal record is. Basically, sealing of records is when the record cannot be erased, but it can be hidden away from for prospective public and employer scrutiny to help you get a job, to help you avoid answering uncomfortable questions. And honestly, if you've been convicted, as some people might have done at 17, for example, uh, for grand larceny, um, and you spent, say, 10 years in prison, starting in juvenile prison, and then went to the adult prison, how long should that really follow you? And how many years should you be asking or answering questions about that sort of thing? And that's really what they're talking about here. So, criminal record sealing is when they simply seal away from the public's prying eyes. Expungement is when they eliminate the record. It never used to be that there was any option for expungement in Virginia versus other states which would expunge your record after so many years, sometimes automatically, sometimes on a limited basis. But here in Virginia, we have both. But as you would expect, guess who is not allowed to get their record sealed or expunged? That's right. So we can go all the way down here. They've got some great information here. But what everybody wants to know is, how do I know if I'm eligible to seal my record? Well, you don't have to have any charges uh, before January 1. If you do, sadly, you cannot get it sealed, only after 1986. That's the first barrier. You can't have the worst of the felonies. So in Virginia, classes, the lower the class number of felony, the more serious the Commonwealth takes it, and the more likely you will get denied almost everything. They're considered to be violent or the most egregious felonies. So class 1 or 2, 3 or 4, not allowable, not allowable if it's in the last 20 years, if it's class 3 or 4, and you cannot have been convicted of any felony additionally in the last 10 years, regardless of the class. In addition, this does not kick in until at least 7 years have passed from your last misdemeanor offense, or 10 years for any felony offense in order for it to be sealed. Okay. You, of course, have to pay any restitution, any court costs, any costs of any kind of deferment program or anything like that. Okay. The good news is 90% of all misdemeanors and nearly two-thirds of all classes 5 and 6 felonies, those are the lowest level felonies, of which computer solicitation of a minor is one of them, are eligible for sealing under the new law. Two-thirds of all of these. This is really great. And this harkens back to a 2021 version of the law in which they had a number of offenses that were ineligible if they were DUI. But in 2025, of course, hundreds more offenses were rendered ineligible for record sealing. And here's a list of ineligible offenses. I want to call your attention to the very first one on here. If you are on SORNA, the Sex Offender Against Minors Registry, sex offender regulation, something or other, I think is what SORNA stands for. But basically, it is the sex offender against minors registry. Whether there was an actual minor or not, it doesn't matter. If you are convicted of a sex offense, of a violent rape of a woman, for example, well, you can actually potentially get out of that here, but you cannot if you have been involved in supposedly a child, even computer solicitation, which does not involve any contact with a child. And in most cases, it doesn't even involve an actual child. Those you cannot get those sealed, and you cannot get those expunged, certainly sealed, and certainly not expunged either. That's a much higher bar. So you can look through here and see other certain offenses here as well. Um, let's see, what cannot be included in here? Anything that involves sexual battery or attempted sexual battery. So I will retract what I said about sexual battery of a woman, but those are considered in some of those lesser violations. You will not have to worry about sealing the records. So here's a complete list. I'm actually going to post this in the description below. Any violation of, let's see, a third conviction of sexual battery, you could understand that. Solicitation to commit murder, you can understand that. But they have a number of rather exhaustive list here that includes violations here or in any other state, including firearms offenses, etc. Hate crimes are on there. A violation of a protective order. Violation of a protective order, you're not allowed either. That's something that is they may have to look at that again because it's easy to get a protective order against you. It is easy. It is almost as easy as uh, a federal grand jury or any state grand jury, which has been known tongue in cheek as being so easy to get a indictment that they would even indict a ham sandwich. Well, you can see here, it is very easy to get a protective order issued against you because most judges do not want to take the risk of having the person show up dead the next day. So they will almost always give the purported victim an emergency or preliminary protective order. The permanent protective order, which is viewed on appeal within 2 years later if you appeal it, that one, they may or may not remove it, but you have a better chance of getting a permanent one denied, especially if you're a man, if there's no evidence of anything. Um, However, if you have one issued against you and you are adjudged to have violated it, and I've seen some pretty awful cases in the family court system, then you are in for a world of hurt and you can never get that removed at all. Cruelty against animals, violation of election law, and you can look at the full list here as well. But as you can see, it's a pretty substantial list, okay? Including victim of a crime who's a family member or a household member. They may be somebody living in the house unrelated, okay? Uh, Public intoxication is accepted, of course, but obscenity is not. So, it really depends on what you do. They're particularly hard on any crimes that are judged to be against children or juveniles. And you can understand that to a certain extent. However, there isn't much wiggle room there if you have been placed on SORNA or have been convicted of something as minor as sale of novelty lighters to juveniles. You are ineligible for a sealment. Okay. So, that's really pretty amazing. Um, so I wanted to do that quick video so you could see that. It's pretty extraordinary, some of the wonderful things that they're doing in the Commonwealth, I think, to try to even up. I think their heart is in the right place at the same time. Uh, they have this perpetual punishment idea for people who have been convicted of sex offenses, and you have members of the public, including this twit, who keeps attacking me online says that we ought to put people who have been convicted, like I have, unfairly or fairly, it doesn't matter to him, it's all the same, into the wood chipper, which is, you would think, a hate crime, but, because you can hide behind an online persona, that's perfectly allowable. So it's you have to ask yourself, what do you want these people to do who have been convicted of the worst offenses, or what society has been uh, trained to view them as the worst offenses, whether they actually involve a real sex offense or not. You have to ask yourself, do you want them hanging around all day? Do you want them to subject to being fired from their jobs or denied employment? What good does that do anybody? They can't pay taxes. You've taken away their voting rights. You've taken away their ability to use a firearm to protect themselves and their families. What do you expect them to do? So that's just one more way in which Virginia goes almost as far as it needs to go, but decides to err on the side of caution and continually punish people, even as they talk a good game about second chances and restitution and giving people an opportunity to survive and to thrive and to redeem themselves in some meaningful way in society. This is Norman Michael Ation with I.C.A.C. Unpacked. Have a good day.